Imagine this: you're watching your favorite movie, a masterpiece with gripping moments, compelling characters, and an unforgettable ending. Suddenly, entire scenes vanish, characters' words are muted, and the essence of the story feels lost. It's kind of like gazing at the Mona Lisa after someone's erased her smile. Is this still the same work of art? Let me give you any kind of a silly example that, but uh, but is connected to something that I love. Imagine Lord of the Rings, which is my favorite movie, without any of the violent acts from this guy, purely because I'm against violence. It would truly change a lot of the movie. Now, that, like I said, that's kind of a silly example, but that could be something that could be the case if the world of movie censoring continues to go in the way that it has. Today, I argue that filtering or censoring movies, though well intentioned, undermines a creator's artistic intent and deprives audiences of the full experience. While some see filtering as a way to protect viewers, it comes at a significant cost to storytelling and creative freedom. First, I'm going to tell you why this debate matters to us as students and members of this society. And then I'm going to talk about some of its historical roots. Finally, we'll look at how it's playing out in today's streaming dominated world, discussing different solutions that we can come to that is able to find a balance between accessibility with respect for artistic integrity. So, why does this matter? Movie filtering is the process of editing or removing content such as violence, language, or adult themes to appeal to specific audiences. While some appreciate the cleaner versions of this practice, it compromises the artist's vision. Filmmakers create stories with specific tones, emotions, and messages in mind. Altering them disrupts the story's flow and meaning. According to Kirby in 2009, professor of science and communication at Cal Poly University, censorship not only limits creative freedom, but it reflects a deeper mistrust of the audience's ability to engage critically with challenging content. Catherine O'Leary goes up further on this. She's the co-author of Global Censorship on Global Insights on Theater Censorship. She references the minds of Pierre Bourdieu and Michael Foucault in this, and their argument that censorship shapes how society interprets art and ideas. By removing certain elements, we're not just sanitizing things, we're reshaping the very message and meaning of it itself. So, this debate around censorship definitely isn't new at all. It stretches back to the early 20th century when governments and Hollywood imposed rigid content on controls. Kirby, in another article that he has written called Harnessing the Persuasive Power of Narrative in 2018, discusses the history of film censoring, addressing with us what is now known most commonly as Hays Code. The Hays Code was introduced in 1934 and was created to avoid a government-controlled rating and censorship program. Essentially, people were afraid that if they didn't come up with a code for movies, that the government would eventually make one themselves and control what could and couldn't be in movies. So people didn't want this, so they made Hays Code, and this code enforced strict moral guidelines on movies and filmmakers. Movies and filmmakers actually couldn't even show anything such as excessive kissing, criticism of any sort of religion, or language and other violent acts that they deemed excessive. This stifled artistic creativity for decades. The end of Hays Code did come in the 1960s, however, and was replaced with the rating system. And while the rating system was better, allowing more freedoms in certain rating methods and allowing people to know which ones they might want to avoid, directors were still indirectly pressured to self-censor to reach broader audiences. This context sets the stage for understanding today's battles. where streaming platforms and advanced editing tools have brought movie filtering into our living room. Is this truly an issue that we should care about, though, however? The answer is yes, and it's growing. Filtering is now a key feature of many streaming services and platforms, catering to audiences who want clean entertainment. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting to have clean entertainment. Especially in our culture here in the state of Utah, that's something that a lot of people really want, and I personally agree with a lot of the time. However, it's the idea of the artist's initial intent being removed and things being more unrealistic, the tone not being there, that doesn't always sit well with me and a lot of others. Platforms like Clearplay and VidAngel allow viewers to customize filters, removing anything from swearing to political commentary. While this appeals to specific demographics, it creates fragmented and diluted versions of films. These sanitized versions often spark controversy among creators and directors. Quentin Tarantino is one that has spoken out very openly on opposition against censorship, and even once was willing to accept that his movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, would not be released in China, just so he wouldn't have to censor it. However, fighting back on this sentiment, streaming platforms such as VidAngel try to claim that they don't like censoring either. Their website says directly that we don't force directors to change their scenes, we just let families mute and skip those scenes like they already would with their remote. So, what's been done to try to come up with solutions and fix this? There actually is organizations like the Film Foundation, led by Martin Scorsese, that announced in their 2020 report that they're fighting to preserve original versions of films, ensuring that unfiltered editions are available for future generations. That leads us to solution number one, institutional protections. We could implement systems that are put in place to ensure that unfiltered versions are always available no matter what, as the initial source and most pure version of the film. Critics argue that instead of editing films, platforms should add more detailed content warnings, giving viewers the choice to watch or avoid altering the art. Streaming platforms could offer both original and filtered editions, clearly labeling them. This approach respects creative freedom while giving audiences options. Governments could also establish guidelines that prioritize artistic integrity, similar to copyright laws that protect intellectual property. Alright, solution number two. Audiences play a vital role in preserving artistic freedom. This solution is that the audiences choose to watch original versions. Audiences that support this can choose to watch original versions and only support directors who resist censorship. That way we send a message that art matters more than one's convenience. Parents and educators can also teach media literacy, helping younger generations engage critically with films beforehand, even if the content is challenging or uncomfortable. That way they can make an informed decision before consuming a piece of media. So just to review, I've discussed the risk of filtering movies, the historical and current implications, and some solutions that we could do to preserve artistic integrity, while also accommodating some diverse audiences. Filtering movies may seem harmless, but it undermines storytelling, erases cultural history, and limits the audience's interpretive power. To conclude, movies are more than just entertainment. They're windows into other worlds, reflections of humanity, and expressions of truth. To cut them, filter them, or sanitize them is to obscure that truth. Let's protect the full picture for the sake of the art. Thank you.